it gives me great pleasure to have Duncan Brooker on. He's the chairman of the Mid-Sussex Football League. Just a quick thing, the Mid-Sussex Football League's been going since the 1900s, affiliated to the Sussex FA, 13 divisions, 13 different cup competitions covering both East and West Sussex. Duncan, thank you very much for your time and good morning.
Good morning, Chris. Very nice to talk to you.
Thank you, sir. So we talk now, as it was highlighted, I think in a post on Facebook that you put up, the amount of misconduct reports has gone up exponentially. And, this is called a LinkedIn with the Enough is Enough campaign, which is trying to, get people to respect referees a little bit more. These reports that are going in, Duncan, what are you finding is the most common complaint in these reports?
What we're finding is that we're getting a number of referees that are writing and reporting misconducts against clubs because they are feeling threatened, they're not feeling safe at games. They are getting an undue amount of grief and hassle from players, usually one or two individuals in the game, but that's enough to spoil it for a referee. And it's enough for them to say, look, that's it, I'm not doing this again. And we've had a few referees over the last 2 years, really, have done one game in adult football and said, no, I don't want that, I can do without this. And they're not coming back to do a second game. And all the clubs, I'm sure, throughout Sussex are aware of the extreme shortage of referees we've got. We have probably 10 games every week which are refereed by non-qualified officials from within clubs or people that they've roped in to referee a game. And that's not a situation that we want to carry on. But the way we're going, it's going to get worse. And next year it'll be 20 referees that we're short every week. And clubs are providing more and more refs. It's down to the club to look after these people. And that's the bottom line, that's the message we want to get out, is that if the clubs and the players don't look after the referees and treat them with respect, then they're going to walk away from the game. And with the current trend, my prediction is in 10 years' time, we won't have any refs at grassroots level. Because, if you look at the age, you mentioned Barry Myers, you look at the age of the referees we've got. I'm 63 and I'm still refereeing at a senior level. They're not going to be around in 10 years, all these people. We're going to be relying on the youngsters and the new referees that we're recruiting now to do these games in the future. And if they're not there, it's the biggest problem, I think, facing grassroots football is the future shortage of referees we're going to get. And the only way to fix it is for the clubs to look after the referees we've got at the moment, make them at home, make them welcome at games. We all make mistakes. Players probably make more mistakes than the referees in the game, but they don't get any grief for it. It's all centred on the referee. And it needs to stop. And as they say, enough is enough.
Yeah.
What we do know from the County FA is that there's no shortage of people out there that want to become football referees. Their courses are full up. If you try and get on a referee course with the Sussex County FA now, there'll be a waiting list to get on. The problem is not attracting new people to referee, it's retaining the ones we've got once they've qualified. That's where the problem is. And the only people who can sort that are the clubs and the players.
Completely with you on that. As a fan, I've heard it from the sidelines, and there's I suppose there's levels. There's your banter with your match officials, and then there's going across the line, and every adult knows what going across the line is. I don't need to reiterate it on here. These people, if you don't have a ref, you don't have a game. I think that a lot of people need to remember. No one wants to go down the route of clubs officiating their own games. Needs to be unbiased people involved with making a game happen. You were touching on the enough is enough there, Duncan. In terms of, I know you're saying that there's waiting lists for refs. How long are these courses? If they're not retaining people, is there anything that they're trying to do, the FA, in terms of getting these people back, or what's occurring there?
Well, I do know. I was at a meeting with the County FA and all the leagues just before Christmas, and one of the main reason that referees don't stay in the game that was quoted, and it's feedback. The County FA, they contact the referees when they don't register for a new season. They contact them, find out why, and the underlying reason is the amount of abuse and grief they get during the game. That is the underlying reason why referees aren't re-registering for the next season. they've had enough, and they just don't want it. The majority of referees that I see that are getting trained are sort of parents of kids that are playing football, and their kids need a referee, so they go on a course, they get trained up, and they start doing junior kids or youth football. And what we want to do is migrate those referees from youth football into adult football. And there's emails that go out every Thursday saying such and such the league is short of referees this week if you can help. Now every qualified referee gets all those emails, and there's one for every single league in Sussex. They're all short. We've had referees from MIDSUSSEX that have replied to that and said, look, I've only done youth football. I'm happy to come along and help on a Saturday. I'll do a game for it. They do a game. They send an email to our referee secretary after the game saying, I'm not having any more of that. That's just not worth it. The amount of grief was unbelievable. And they don't come back. So that's one game, and the impression of adult football is it's something they don't want to do, and they don't come back. So that referee's no loss to adult football. And that's the sort of situation we've got to try and get around.
Yeah.
And and get these referees, make an enjoyable experience for them, so that they want to come back the following week.
In terms of getting the clubs together and banging their heads together about it, I mean, I'm sure on an individual level attempts have been made. I mean, is there anything in the future coming up that to get people together to? Because as you say, if they're not staying, something has to change, because we want refs for games.
We came to head in our cup finals. You mentioned we have about 13 cup finals, and a couple of those cup finals last season, we had problems with players abusing and even assaulting referees in games. And even myself wasn't assaulted, but I was, someone took an aggressive attitude towards me during a game. And those are players that we want to get. Now, at the AGM before the start of the season, I made a big talk about referee abuse and how to look after them. And we said that as a league, we're not going to tolerate this, and we are going to remove registrations from players that are known offenders and get a proven misconduct against them for a referee, sort of whatever. Anything over 100 days, if you get a 100-day suspension and you're playing in the Mid-Sussex League, you can expect the Mid-Sussex League to terminate your registration with that league, so you won't be playing anymore. And that's what we're going to try and do for going forward. Try and get these people, because these individuals tends not to be clubs. We're going to get them out of that game, and so at least they won't be playing in the Mid-Sussex.
Yeah.
And it's something we're going to do. We've told the clubs this, and we've started to do it this season. And next season, if those players want to register, before we accept their registration, we're going to have them in for an interview and ask them how they're going to clean up their game before we accept and let them play in our league. So we're trying to do as much as we can as a league by informing the clubs and giving them as much information about what we're going to do to remove these offending people from the game.
Well, fair enough. Obviously necessary steps.
Necessary, I think, because we don't want these people in the game. If they can't clean their act up, we don't want them in the game.
I suppose one of the things I might say is, from looking from a player's point of view, maybe, we're looking at all refs make errors. They're human beings. That's a given. Yeah, no one is perfect. No player is perfect. Would you say that could it be that the ref needs to maybe take more control of a game? Either it's using the cards or whatever. But actually, there's not a problem with a bit of chat as long as it's respectful.
There are ways in which referees can make the situation easier for themselves, but let's not lose the sight of the fact that we are playing at grassroots level at the probably the lowest end of adult football a lot of the time. And some of the players, they're playing at that level because that's the level they're at.
Yeah. And
let's just accept that the refereeing is the same. There's all levels, there's good, really excellent referees, there's good referees, and there's some that are very enthusiastic and want to do it, but aren't perhaps quite so good. And unfortunately, at the lower levels of the league, at grassroots football, we are going to get referees that, they want to do it and they're enthusiastic in the team, but perhaps, they just haven't got the capability of some of the better referees. Unfortunately, all the players expect a top-class referee at every game.
Yeah.
Whether they're playing in Division 6 of the Mid-Sussex League, they expect a referee that's going to be on top of it, going to manage that game like they see on the Premier League. And I'm afraid it's not there.
Yeah, it's not realistic.
And you mentioned mistakes. All referees make mistakes. I'm sure every referee, including myself, makes mistakes in every single game they referee. But as a player, you've got to accept it and get on with it, and just hope that by encouraging them and being actually gentlemanly to them and being polite, they might improve. And because another thing, I know from refereeing, if you've got 4 players rabbiting in your ear all through the game, you're not concentrating on making decisions. You're concentrating on getting rid of them and shutting them up. So the less grief you get a referee, the more they'll be able to concentrate on the game and get their decisions right and hopefully make less mistakes.
Is there anything that maybe the Mid-Sussex would look at in terms of promoting positive behaviour from players, be it really rewarding clubs that are very well disciplined and respectful? I don't know how you would do that.
I can tell you now, we have a respect league in our league. In the Mid-Sussex League, we have a respect league, and every division throughout the Mid-Sussex League, we mark clubs on their conduct, and you lose points for things like yellow cards, red cards will lose you points. We have a respect table that's published every month in our management meeting minutes, and at the end of the season, we use our sponsorship money we get from Grey Hooper Holt solicitors. Respect leagues, for every division, we have a respect table as well as the actual points league table. The top clubs in each division, and there's about 13 altogether, the top clubs get a monetary reward at the end of the season for good behaviour. And we're talking hundreds of pounds. There's a financial incentive here for clubs to behave and treat the referee. And those marks come from club marks from the referee. Every single match a referee referees, he gives respect marks to those clubs, both home and away. And those are the marks that we use those marks along with yellow, number of yellow cards. You lose points for yellow and red cards or misconducts, and they all go towards this to build this respect table.
Anything that's going to give referees a bit more respect, then it's something to encourage. Again, I'd say it 100 times. You haven't got a game if you haven't got a ref. Well, I mean, the games. I think everyone would agree the game is a lot better off with a neutral referee rather than one of the team's managers refereeing it from the centre circle. Yeah, 100%.
If I was to summarise, I would say that I've been chairman of this league for about 5 years now. So we went all through the COVID. We had to make some very difficult decisions through COVID. Everybody missed their football. It's one of the main things. When we came out of COVID, we as a league decided straight away we're going to get football going. People need it and they want to play football. But unfortunately, since we've come out of COVID, we and I think all the referees and the leagues will say this, we've seen a marked increase in the amount of disrespect towards referees since we've come out of COVID. I don't know why that is, but it's seen. And we've got to stop it. We've got to put a stop on this now before it gets a lot worse and we lose even more referees to the game. And then you're sitting there, as I say, within 10 years' time, even at the combination league level in senior football, they're lucky to have 3 officials for their Premier and Div 1 games at the moment every week. I can't see that would survive, having that level of officials, if they don't start looking after them at the lower level of football.
Thank you, Duncan Brooker, Mid-Sussex Football League Chairman. Thanks for your time and thanks for that. And hopefully people will start listening and we need to respect our refs.
Let's hope so, and hopefully a lot of people will hear this podcast and will start thinking differently about how they treat referees.